When I went into the adult prisons at the age of 21, the only problem on them landings was addiction. And when I went in there, say 99, 2000s, whatever, back then, if you had an addiction, on every wing, they'd have about 4 or 5 cells on the ones. And if you went in with an addiction, you would get put into one of them cells and you would have to rattle. And you would go through that rattling phase, and it'll be very, very painful for you. It'll be the withdrawal from your addiction would be very, very traumatic to you. But once you'd done it, you'd come out the other side, you'd get stronger, you'd be more able, you'd be more physically strong, mentally stronger, and you'd start looking after yourself. And the majority of the people that went through that process were able to stop taking it again in the future because they'd gone through such a process that they didn't want to go through again. All of a sudden, human rights came in and someone challenged that it was this, and all of a sudden they started flushing the prison with medication to help them get past it. But if you've ever heard the word of do you rattle, that's where it stems from. Because when people do the cold turkey, they literally rattle. So I was just turned into an adult. I've been very violent and volatile in the YP system. You know the dance, you've got to represent yourself, so on and so forth. Me and Danny had a very, very well-known name within the YP system. So when we did go into the adult system, the screws automatically had a problem with us. And because we were young and naive to this new environment, they used to stitch us up with the worst pad mates you could be stitched up with. And the pad mates, my first couple of pad mates in prison was raging addicts who'd been smoking and injecting for a long, long time. And I'd be in my pad, I'd be on the top bunk, because I used to think the top bunk was the best place to be, because someone on top can drop on you when you're sleeping and that. So I'd be on the top bunk, I'd get a pad mate in, and they'd just start rattling, like the legs would be like that. And what that done to my bed was make my bed like a vibrator, so I'd be like that. And it just got too much. He had to wait 2 or 3 of them in. I think you're stitching me up, putting me in with these type of people. Crazy, that. But that's where the shout, go and do your rattle, comes from. Especially the ones that have been injecting in the legs for such a long, long time. When they're injecting in the legs, they're killing the veins off, what they're injecting in, they kill them off. And when they do go through that withdrawal, and when they're going through them withdrawal effects without any help, when they're doing a cold turkey, then veins start sort of coming back, if you like. They start coming back through the system, and the nerves start making the legs rattle. The last time I ever went in a double cell as a con, it was madness, mate, So they've locked me up. I'm in a pad. And what they used to do to me to wreck me head is they'd give me a continuous flow of dirty pad mates. When I mean dirty pad mates, I mean, people that was on addictions, and it doesn't matter, I'm not calling them all dirty, but, they didn't live hygienic lifestyles, and they'd go out on the yard and they'd pick little bits of roll, tobacco, what people had smoked and thrown on the floor. They'd go out, mooch them, and I'd come in, and you just have this little tramp sat at the end of my pad, all in dirty grey fingers, taking the tobacco out of the little stumps and making himself a rollie and just stinking my pad out. And the screws knew exactly what they were doing to me. Anyway, it got to the point where I was slapping them up, and I was getting called a bully, but I'm not asked. Anyway, to get past that, the screws thought they were mad, didn't they? So what they done? They brought this big black kid in from the South End. Barry Williams, his name was. He was a big, crazy fiend from the South End. And I'm talking around the times of, your Carl Palmers, your Paul Jenkins, rough lads who were smoking, and they just do crazy madness. Anyway, this Williams, this Carl Williams, his name was, I'm certain it was, yeah, Carl Williams from the South End. He used to snatch handbags off old women outside in post offices, you know, like that Thomas Joyce from Kirby. They used to snatch handbags, do you know what I mean? So all of a sudden, because I've been slapping these kids who were just wrecking me pad and doing all madness, they put this Williams in, who'd been in the adult prisons for a long time. He was like a bully on the wing. He used to terrorise everyone and tax them and all this. So all of a sudden, I'm only small, 5'11". You've got this 6'2" black kid from the South End landing on me pad. He's thick boned, but you can see he's a raging bully. And you used to see him on the yard taxing people and all this. All of a sudden, the screws in Walton stitch me up and put him in with me. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, he's going to be a handful, this if I go out with him, you know what I mean? I'm on my bed, I'm just doing it. He's not like the others because he's coming in with packets of burn, you know what, he's taxing off people and all this. So he's quite fat in that sense. So he's not sitting at the end, you know, raiding the dimps and having big black fingers off the ash and smoking smelly dimps and all this. And we sort of had a little conversation. Whatever you do, Carl Williams, do not smoke anything in this cell, okay? Whatever you do, don't smoke. I won't, lad. I've got respect for you. I wouldn't do that to you. I know the damage it can do to you when you're asleep and so on and so forth. So I'm just chilling, doing my bedtime. I go to bed. I wake up about 3 in the morning and it stinks of like this mad fishy smell, and I'm thinking, what the I'm thinking I'm in a little world of my own. I normally sleep towards the wall in them cells, depending on what side the bunk bed's on. I always sleep on my left shoulder. So if the bed's on the right wall, I'll be facing out towards the other wall. But if it's on the left wall, I'll be facing the wall. So on this occasion, I'm facing the wall. I've woke up, had this mad smell. I've turned round, and what have you got? You've got that Carl Williams smoking on a chair about 3 foot away from me. And when he's blowing the smoke, he's blowing it up in the air and it's going round the arch ceiling, all the old Victorian cells, and it's just hitting me while I'm on my bed. I've just had to, you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit shook. I'm a little bit shook at this kid. You know, he's a big bully on the wing. He's got everyone shook of him, and the screws have purposely put him in my cell to me. So I'm a little bit shook, but I was just thinking to myself, I can't have this. I just can't have it. So I've just waited for the opportunity. When he was gouching, he's had another toot. He's had another toot. He's had another toot. And I'm just watching him on the slide thinking, you little smackhead, watch what happens here. And he started gouching. I've just jumped off my bed and went, whoosh, poof, poof, just stood all over him, you know, been good hiding, then got on the belt, bang, the screws came, the bells went off. Before you know it, I'm getting dragged out. And that's the last time he had a cellmate. That's the last time he had a cellmate, unless I picked who I want in with me. Now, every time you went to a different prison, you'd sort of get forced into sharing a cell, but I could never live with anyone for a multitude of reasons. The first thing I was thinking, these are plants, these are coppers, can't have them in here while I'm doing this and doing that. Get out, and I'd work and I'd go against the system. But then out the blue from nowhere, there was a kid in London, and I'd been in jail with the kid up here. He was a weird little racist kid. He had a mad, like, racist cross and all these mad things on his face. And I'd done jail with him up here. And because he was that racist up north, and he was always attacking, like, the Asians and the black kids, he got sent down south. So anyway, he gets sent down south. He gets put in a prison down south. Up north in the prisons we were in like the Hinleys and the Warrington Houses and the Lancaster Farms and all these places, he was like in Lancaster Castle. He was known as a raw racist, right? Years later, after the Barry Williamson, I was still having murder, getting bad mates, and then all of a sudden, this kid who had done the white peas with, he's a con now, but he's down London and he's being put in a jail cell in London with an Asian pad mate. He's waited for his Asian padmate to go asleep, snapped his table in there. He used to have wooden tables, you know, with big, thick legs. He snapped his table leg off and weighed this Asian kid in while he was asleep and killed him. Robert, I think his name is, or something. On the back of that, the whole prison system got a shake-up. And what they done is then they brought risk assessments in for cell sharing. And because I'd done that to that kid and a few others when I was fresh in the adult system, straight away I became high-risk cell share. So right through my prison sentence, I was like, woo, single cell all the way. Wasn't.